blocks 1 through 7.
Why is it recording?
Okay, section 5. Proving two triangles congruent by ASA and AAS. Okay? Two concepts. First of all, know this definition. What is an included side? Okay, an included side is the side located between two consecutive blank of a polygon. What do you think?
Side?
Angles. So on your picture, I want you to mark the following. Angle, side, angle. That angle marked right here, this is called the included side. Included side. It's included between two consecutive angles. Okay? So now the ASA postulate says the following. If you have two triangles, okay? So let's take these two triangles, and you can prove this. If you can show that that angle there of this triangle is congruent to that angle of that second triangle, and then you can show that that side is congruent to that side, and then you can show that this angle here is congruent to this one here. You can prove that these two triangles are congruent to each other. And let's do this. Let's call this triangle A, B, C. And let's call this triangle D, E, F. So we want to write the congruency statement that shows how these two are congruent. Does it matter how I name the first triangle? No. So I'm going to go triangle ABC is congruent to, now, triply match it up. What has to be the first letter of the second triangle? D. And then what's next? E. And then F. Good. These two triangles are congruent by what? A, S, A. Very good. What are the other two ways we could prove two triangles congruent right now? Side angle, side, and side, side, side. And if we wanted to, the definition of congruent triangles, show that the three angles are congruent to the three angles and the three sides of the three sides. Okay. So there's 4 ways now. Let's go down to the angle side postulate. It says this. I can show this angle is congruent to this angle. I can show this angle is congruent to this angle. And if I can show this side is congruent to this side. Again, let's name this triangle A, B, C, D, E, F. Then I can say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, what is it now? DEF by AAS. What happens to the side now that's congruent to the other side? It's not the included side, right? Otherwise it'd be right here. Okay? 5 ways to prove two triangles are congruent to each other. What are they? What's the way that is the longest if you had to prove it? The definition. So we're going to put down the definition of congruent triangles. That would be one way that you guys could prove two triangles are congruent. Give me another way. SSS. SAS. ASA, AAS, and there's one more that we haven't talked about yet. HL. And the HL is kind of a special case because HL stands for hypotenuse leg, which means it only is used to prove right triangles are congruent. Okay? Now there's one more acronym that you guys have to be aware of here. I wish I had more room here. Let's do this. Let's go triangle ABC congruent to triangle XYZ. Okay, after you prove two triangles are congruent, this is very important. After you prove two triangles are congruent, the reason that angle A is congruent to angle X, the reason that angle B is congruent to angle Y, the reason that angle C is congruent to angle Z, okay? The reason that, what segment? Segment AB is congruent to segment XY, and BC congruent to YZ, and one more, AC to XZ. The reason that all of these 6 things are true, you guys, can you tell me why? It's on your blue sheet. CPCTC. Once you've identified that two triangles are congruent to each other, then all of their corresponding parts are congruent to each other by the acronym corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, which we shortcut to say CPCTC. Okay? CPCTC. Okay? Any questions on what you see on the board? Include side, angle, angle, side, how to prove two triangles congruent, or lastly, what does it mean by CPCTC? Can you use CPCTC before you've stated the two triangles are congruent? Think about that. You have to prove the two triangles are congruent first in order to use CPCTC. So I'm going to give you a proof packet right now. You're going to go through and do some proofs. You'll never use CPCTC until you've already stated the two triangles are congruent. So if it comes down to why are the two triangles congruent, you got 6 choices. It's one of these. That's it. All right? Any questions? All right. So your assignment is going to be a proof packet. Proof packet, and then if you look in your books, let's make sure we're not being redundant here. Look on page 272, please. 272. I think everything in 272 or 276 is actually in the packet. So let's just say this, the only assignment is the proof packet. We'll call it good.